Welcome to Charmed Life, a radio show discussing spirituality, magic, and the unconditional love of the universe. Thanks for tuning in. And I'm your host, Tricia Carr. Thank you so much for being here with me today. This is going to be an awesome show. I'm very excited. I know that show hosts always say that, but I mean it, and I'm getting excited. Are y'all excited? Jarvis, are you excited? Yeah. That helped. Thank you very much. And we are broadcasting live from the Universal Broadcasting Network Studios at Sunset Gower in Hollywood, California. And you guys may be catching me live, which you can do every Sunday at 11 a.m. Pacific on Facebook or on Periscope. And I want to let y'all know about my new Facebook group. It's called Charmed Life, and you can find it by looking up facebook.com/charmedlifelove. That's how you can find it. Go ahead and join. If you like the show, then you'll like the group. And it's a way, really, it's kind of like having the fan page, except that it's a better way to stay engaged. So I'm going to be doing teachings there and readings there. I'm going to go live in the group. And it feels so good already. It's so fun. I just started a few days ago. So I would really love to see y'all there. And please do share with other friends if you think that they may enjoy it, if they're spiritual seekers and they want to be more engaged with a community. And of course, I want to tell y'all about the other spiritual community of which I am a part. I'm a teacher and a moderator in the Lightworkers Lab, so you can find that on Facebook as well by searching the Lightworkers Lab. And my YouTube channel, where you can find the archives of this show and then other videos that I post up there about, different kinds of spiritual topics, animals and nature and, intuitive stuff, all kinds of stuff there. And that is youtube.com/Tricia Carr, just Tricia Carr on that one. So that's about it for the business. And so now to the exciting part, which is my guest. He has been on the show before several months ago at this point. He's an actor, and his name is Cameron Gellman. Welcome, Cameron.
Hi, everybody. Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I was on, I think it was a couple months ago, and it was just fantastic, so I'm glad to be back.
Oh, yeah. We have so much fun when we get together in any format and just chatting away.
Yeah, usually it takes 3 hours, though, so we're gonna keep that limited here.
We have to.
We're going to focus.
We're going to focus. We're going to keep it in 50-ish minutes. So Cameron is an actor, and Cameron is... I'm gonna tell you that you're a light worker, and that means that you came down here to shine your light and to allow more light to come into this plane. That's what we use that term to mean. And of course you
sure. No, I mean
identify.
These things resonate before you define them.
I know, right?
And then you tell me, oh, okay.
I know, right?
That makes sense. No, I definitely feel it. I think that all of us kind of come down here with a purpose. I think really early on I was kind of in that pursuit of purpose, which was both really exciting and really kind of tumultuous because when you're young, it's just, scratch that.
Scratch it.
Scratch it. In general, it's just a challenging thing, kind of figuring out what you're here to do. And I think that what I've come to understand is that it's not one size fits all. And that obviously the acting thing is how I feel best that I can communicate what I need to. But if I was in accounting, I'm sure I could find that same, this is just what resonates with me.
Absolutely.
So, I used to think that there was just one way to do this. And as I've gotten older, it's just recognizing that there's 1,000,005 ways, and it's just whatever resonates with you. So very happy to be an artist. Yeah.
And 100%. And even when, you found your niche as an actor, but even inside being an actor, there's your niche. And it's just, we're so unique, and it's really like a fingerprint, what we're here to do.
Absolutely.
And we're meant to, if you can dream it, you are meant to create it. And that is not something just to write on a poster and be like, whatever, that's cute. That is absolutely true. Why else would your heart be presenting those thoughts?
Yeah, if I had and take this with a grain of salt, but if there was one fantastic piece of advice, all those friends you have on Facebook that you never actually keep in touch with that post really spiritual cliches, listen to them.
Oh, I love that.
Because they have no idea what they're talking about, but the memes are they're on point. They really are. Whether it's honor your thoughts and emotions, or that whole concept of life pulling you back, launching you into something. Those people have no idea what they're talking about, and it just feels great to them to share that with everybody.
They're trying to understand at least.
But that stuff could not be more true.
That's right.
I mean, what you're talking about, if you can in every moment literally just honor your thoughts and your emotions and your impulses, guaranteed you will in some way or another build a life that you're happy with.
Right.
You know what I mean? I think we are really used to silencing those things. And I had somebody say to me, do you have any idea how much time you spend planning for your future self? It's almost like I know I'm going to meet me at 30 and need the following. But by then my needs will have changed anyway. And also understanding that time is very finite, right? In our creation, in human creation.
In our perspective, yeah.
In our perspective.
The perspective we're committing to right here. Yeah.
And all that we have is now. So this idea
Yes.
of constantly investing in something later that doesn't really exist yet, it makes sense financially and whatever, but at the same time, always making decisions for you that doesn't exist yet doesn't make a lot of sense.
Right. But one way that you can, we have a caller, and I didn't even give out the number yet.
Okay,
but
there you go.
Well, I do want to say the one thing that we can bring the future planning and the manifesting of the desires, which feels like it's future oriented, one way that we can bring it present is to, okay, so I have a desire to have this, be this, do this, whatever it is. So then to hold that frequency, hold that, the joy that gives you in your heart, honor it, and know that joy is yours and it's meant to be yours. And then to align with it into the present, which brings it to the now, is to say, so what would I have to believe in order to be, do, or have that?
Yeah.
And then that deals with this now, this ever expanding now, which is actually what eternity is.
Yeah. So to sort of just like a little bridge off of that, I think one of the things that I'm doing, and I think you as well, and everybody in this community and everybody period, is constantly exploring what resonates in the most potent form for us.
Absolutely.
Whether it's the way that we think or who we surround ourselves with, and sometimes it's little tweaks that make a huge difference.
Yeah.
And as an artist, I feel like always looking forward to the next project. And you're often in that not your best self in each individual project. I was just talking about this with my castmates on this project that I'm currently on. It's just so easy to always want that next step.
Right.
And it's also easy to base your self-worth off of something that you don't have yet. And it's a really easy cycle to get into, whether you're doing it with, you want a bigger house, you want a more beautiful spouse, it's just this constant, right? And so I've found that it makes me feel fantastic to, and I had somebody in something called Actor Salon throw this at me, to desire things instead of need or want them. Because it makes it feel like I am whole on my own.
Right.
And then outside of me, there was something that would help me to grow, as opposed to something filling some sort of gap or insecurity.
Of course. It activates,
Yeah.
you're saying the resonance, it activates the resonance,
Completely.
the joy.
Yeah.
And that resonance is the single clue, the single way that we know that we're in alignment with our higher self. That we are serving our purpose when we feel that excitement, that joy, and that resonance.
Absolutely.
Well, let's take that call.
All right.
Let's see who's here to talk with us this morning. Hi, you're on the air. Who's this?
Hi, this is Abby. Hi.
Abby. Is it the Abby that I
Oh.
think it is?
Yes.
Oh, so nice to talk to you. We know each other on Facebook, but I've never heard her voice.
Fantastic. Hi, Abby.
Hi, how are you? I tell you, you've got a talented lady right there on the phone. I mean, she has helped me in so many ways.
Oh.
And one of the most recent things is that the other day you were talking about cutting cords
Okay.
and how you basically just cut a cord. That, I'm one of these people that if I see a TV program, I will cry terribly because I'm just in pain seeing this other person being in pain. And, it's been so wonderful to learn this technique that you have taught about disconnecting cord, and since I've done that, I'm able to watch a program without acting like this sobbing crazy person.
Oh,
so
good.
that's just one of the things.
And so, well, that's good because you've gotten ahead of it now. Because we aren't victims to the environment. We aren't victims to watching something that is eliciting sadness or something like that. You know what I mean? Like we have that stuff to entertain ourselves, but we don't have to absorb it. That isn't what we're meant to do with our sensitivity. Our sensitivity is a gift. It is a superpower. But I was actually told this morning. Thank you for bringing it up, Abby. That by Archangel Ariel, because she works with humans. I mean, she works with nature and animals. We know that about her, but I've been understanding lately, she's been telling me that she also works with humans, particularly ones that are very sensitive, and that is a work that's on her heart. Because anyway, so Ariel told me this morning that the reason that we do that when we allow 11:11, it's 11:11. Ding, 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 ding.
Everybody make a wish.
Everybody receive your wish. Your angels are telling you, and here's your wish. So, what was I saying? That Ariel told me that the reason that we do that, where we feel like we're absorbing and we feel like, we have our feelers in all kinds of areas and we can't pull them back, it's an over-adaptation to our perception of the world. And then we utilize what is meant to be a gift, which is our sensitive nature, and we turn it inside out, kind of, and we then are putting you're putting your emotions, and you're allowing that to be in that television show, and it's not even real. I mean, you're like, I just understand that there's sadness in the world. I totally know what you're talking about, Abby, because I've done that before. I remember once when it was like in the early or mid 90s, and I was watching Reservoir Dogs. And there's this scene where it's like a torture scene, kind of, and they cut a guy's ear off and all this kind of stuff. And I freaked the F out because it went inside my being. And it was like I caught some kind of emotional disease. And Jarvis says, that happened to you when you watch Reservoir Dogs too? The exact same thing happened to Jarvis. And so, but that doesn't happen anymore. But Abby, I'm so happy to hear that you have gotten ahead of it now, and you're starting to use your sensitivity as the strength that it is.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to even being around people that have sometimes this negative energy that's always affected me and really hurt me. And now I can kind of put that shield up and, be around that type of situation and not let it hurt me so much.
Yeah,
so
I love that. Did you hear that?
Thank you.
I'm looking forward to being around negative people. That is
right.
powerful.
Abby, right, I'm not afraid.
Abby,
That's a healer.
I have a question for you. So looking back now, as you're sort of moving into this new phase where you feel like you're able to sort of protect yourself and connect and disconnect when you need to, what do you feel like was inhibiting you from doing so during that previous chapter?
I guess to feel that I was feeling that I couldn't get through to them, and now it's not really my responsibility anymore. I can say my piece. I can try to make a difference.
So fantastic.
We're gonna stand up and dance.
And what
so
liberating.
It's not your work. It's not your work.
I think we live in a society where as we grow up and as we're raised, we're surrounded with these societal conditionings that teach us rules that are really not true and not fair. And one of them is that disconnecting in the way that you have is selfish, and that taking care of yourself is selfish. And it's just not true. And it's just always the most fantastic thing to see people figuring this out and determining that their happiness is paramount. And the truth is, as you're going to continue to find and continue to relish in, you're actually best able to serve those around you and everybody in your life when your energy is cleansed and is clear and is coming from within you, as opposed to sort of running around trying to keep everybody else happy but not feeling at peace yourself, because we reflect onto others what we're feeling inside of us. So congratulations. That's just the most exciting thing.
That's great. Yeah, because we are to say that we are service to others, all of us here, and Abby, Jarvis, Cameron, and me. And like you said, how we actually serve others is to make sure that we're serving from a full cup, because the cup being full means that we are connected to source energy, that we're connected to God. If we're out there with an empty cup and trying to give what we don't have to other people, then we've gone rogue. We aren't actually doing light work. We're just, because we are, if we're trying to help other children of God, then we can't negate the fact that we're children of God. So if we aren't helping ourselves, that's the first one that we can help. Then we aren't actually in service to others, because we're one of the others as well.
Absolutely. Okay. So that's perfect. I think what everybody sort of struggles with at first, and hopefully sort of evolves into, is a recognition of self as another being. You know what I mean? Yeah. So if you look at from the time that you're in this lifetime, the time that you're born to the time that you die, you will spend more time and more energy on yourself than anybody else. So when you start treating you, or when you start holding yourself accountable for the way you treat yourself, as if you were your best friend, and you start to say, wow, would I ever call my best friend, this or that when I look in the mirror? Would I ever call, would I ever comment on my best friend's talent the way that I do mine, right? Or my intelligence, or whatever your insecurities are. And when you start to look at it that way, you grow a conscience about it, and all of a sudden you're way more mindful of the way that you speak to yourself. And from there, as you heal yourself, again, the way that you're able to speak to others, it's just this expansive
It's expanding you, yeah.
Absolutely.
Because we're all
Yeah.
connected. You know, Abby, we came today to talk about transitions, and particularly from the context of people who are very sensitive and, you know, light workers. And Abby, I know that you're experiencing a lot of transition. Abby's, if you don't mind my saying, Abby's father passed,
Okay.
and my father actually just passed as well. So we actually have that transitional process in common. How are you doing with that, if you don't mind my asking, Abby?
Doing well. Initially I was having horrible nightmares and feeling a lot of anxiety, but I decided to really indulge into lots of yoga and meditation, and I feel fine. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, of course, there's moments where I'm, extremely sad, especially, my mom, as they were going to have been married 63 years. So, but she, took one of your advice too, Tricia. I said, Mom, talk to Dad. He's not, he hasn't crossed over, and you can help him. You just talk to him, and she did. She said to him, Al, honey, you have to go to the light. You have to go. And, I think you've crossed over. I
Yeah.
feel, she was
I'm sure if
extremely
you-
upset the past few days, but
Yeah.
I know she's going to come out of this.
If you feel it, I'm
hopefully.
100% sure about it, Abby. You know, and that really touches me. I hadn't heard the details of it, and that's normal. You know, like your mother, because he did cross. It's a different kind of grief now. It's a different kind of loss because a different layer of his energy is in a different iteration, and so it feels different from our perspective. And it was interesting when my father passed. So my father actually crossed over before his body had expired completely, and he came to me to do that because he was freaked out because he knew that his body he was no longer going back to his body. He knew it was the end, and he had a lot of fear of going to hell and all this kind of stuff. So he did cross over, and then his body actually expired 6 hours later, and it was interesting, all of the stuff that happened as he was going through that process, how it affected me. Because Abby, you love and are very close to your father. Not that I didn't love my father, but the quality of our relationship wasn't that it was a loss because it wasn't in my life in a regular way. So I didn't feel that, and I didn't feel unresolved because I'd had a lot of resolution with different stuff, all of the issues. I'd seen him recently enough, but it was weird because when his body expired, even though his soul was no longer here, I felt that too, and it was a whole different thing. So when that energy expired and changed, I felt that too, and I say I felt that because he's in another state. So it was all of that stuff, all of those layers, all of that connection. It's very primal, it's very existential, and all of those different steps in the transition of those that we're connected with. We feel it, we experience it. So much love to your mother and to you both.
Yeah, Abby, sending you so many healing thoughts and just a lot of congratulations on, there's no wrong or right way to handle these things, but I think that you've approached it in a really beautiful, really positive sort of learningful way.
Yeah.
I think all that meditation and all that yoga, it's really something that, I hate to use the word should, but it's something that I would love it if all of us were doing all the time. And unfortunately, it's something that these sort of experiences tend to stimulate.
Yeah, well, at least we did it, at least we got there.
And I think, so I was just having a conversation with one of my castmates who we were just sort of in that getting to know each other process, but we skipped over a lot of steps and sort of flew to some very personal stuff. And I was talking, I had just come from a tennis tournament with my father and in my family up to Utah where I was filming a series. And I was just talking about how incredible this moment I had with my father was. If I were to leave tomorrow, I would probably be proudest of that moment. There was just, I got to play doubles with him. There was a lot of teamwork involved, and it was just really neat for us. And I was talking about this with my castmate, and he was saying that he sort of never got to have that with his father, and that his father was gone now. And there was a lot of anger there for some sort of mistreatment when he was younger, and he sort of was feeling a lot of regret for never being able to share those moments. And it occurred to me that he still had every opportunity to. That his father leaving, Earth in a physical form was not the end of a relationship.
Right.
That it continues as long as you want it to. That your communication does, because energy is in its most potent form, it's non-physical, right? So you can converse with your father, ask him questions, admire him in him you for as long as you wish.
Yeah.
Because he's, again, like Tricia said, in a different form, but not gone. And that can be really healing, because I think people tend to mark time for themselves and say, gosh, my time is up with this person. I don't have a chance anymore to do whatever. But trust that anything that you put out there finds him. And so you have every opportunity now to share with him whatever you'd like to. And obviously you have the help of people like Tricia who, can really help you to do that communication if it's something that you're looking for. So take a lot of peace and solace in that, and just know that you've gone about your healing in a really beautiful, positive way.
Yeah. Abby,
And you're very fortunate that you had,
No,
a beautiful kind of, relationship with your dad. But what if, you have more disappointment in your father?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he's crossed over, and, you tried when he was alive to kind of explain, why you're disappointed, but now that he's crossed over, it's almost like, okay, I get over it, Abby. The man is gone.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
So
Sure.
I think, Abby, that is really kind of to the point that you made at the beginning of the call, where you wanted to heal others, but it's just not your work. You can't force someone to someone else's healing is their healing. It isn't our job to. We can assist them, as we've talked about in the Lightworkers Lab. We can assist them and we give them light and love, but then we pull if we have to allow them to have it, because if we don't give it unconditionally, then again we've gone rogue and we're not actually doing the work of the universe, which is unconditional. So your disappointment and those unhealed aspects about the relationship is your work. And so it has actually nothing to do with the other person. And them actually understanding it or changing because of the healing that you're having, it has nothing to do with your healing.
Often it's a direct effect, but I think the whole the most important part of healing is the intention behind it, and it should always be, like Tricia's saying, for self. So that disappointment and those things, I think the worst thing to do, the thing that would not be very kind to yourself, is to say, oh well, get over it, because we don't do that. And it's going to sit in your psyche, and it's something that you are trying to sort of work through. So do that. I think it will be a bit of a marathon and not a race, and you're allowed to take rest and breaks, and those breaks might look like a day or a week or 6 months. But there will be moments that hit you where you feel a certain way, and sort of talk yourself through it and take stock of what you're feeling. And I think you can really have a healthy conversation with yourself about it and look at why you felt the way you did, and sort of make a decision, because you're this, it's such a gift to be on this earth. And I think you have such incredible energy, and you sound like such a creative,
she is very creative,
gifted human being. And it's one of those things where you have a finite amount of energy that you can focus in any number of places, but you only have so much, as we all do. And I think I'd love to see you, and I think you'd love to see you put that in your creation. You know what I mean? And in connecting with others. And right now, some of that's kind of tied up in stock with these feelings of with your father. So I think maybe that's the intention behind sort of working through those and forgiving him for yourself, not for him, but for you, and forgiving yourself for anything that you need to,
Were you speaking of your own experience there, Abby? That you have maybe some unhealed aspects still with your father? Yeah.
I figured, yeah.
I wanted to be clear. I didn't want to make assumptions.
That's great advice to just say, what, forgive yourself. You can be still annoyed with him or disappointed in him. That's okay.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
My feelings are valid. So
always. That is the
yeah.
number one thing, is that you, in all moments, if you honor your thoughts and emotions, you will never feel, you will never ever be in a position where you are made to feel weak or worthless, or because you are just constantly in that state of kindness to self. Somebody else might make you feel a certain way, but you'll be able to take solace in the way that you treat yourself. And I think, again, it's just not even for him or anybody. This is a gift to you that you give yourself of peace and of release, because you know that your energy is again fantastic and warm and can be put in a lot of really fantastic places, but that it has to sort of be cleared out. And that you want to be able to operate at full emotional capacity. I like to picture a road of oranges.
It'd be wonderful.
You
I'm
know,
sorry.
a road
go
of
ahead,
you're fine, Abby. A road of oranges on a dirt road, okay? And each one is sort of the experiences that we encounter in this life. And oftentimes we pick up an orange and we half squeeze it, right? And I think that let's pretend that there's enough distance between those oranges that you need the full nutrients from the one prior to get to the next one. So somebody will squeeze half of it and then trip over it or have some sort of experience that creates an aversion, and then they move on. And they don't have the strength to make it to the next experience. And when they do, they don't have full strength to squeeze out that orange and get all the nutrients from that one. And I think the metaphor here is that that strength is your emotional capacity and your ability to process things fully. And when we have blockage from old experiences, it inhibits our ability to see every color of the rainbow. So clearing that out can be just the most beautiful, calming, just incredible experience, because all of a sudden your lens changes per the next experience and you see things that you never saw before. And that's so rewarding and moving. And I think that's going to happen for you, and it's going to be just incredible.
You know what, Abby, who was really weird. So I don't like to talk about it because I don't want to activate it, but just for a point of reference, we had a really rough go with my family. And my father actually was, I'm sorry, I'm laughing, but I'm laughing because of a part of the story that's ahead, not because of what I'm about to say, which was my father was an alcoholic. And to lighten the mood, my sister eloquently put it that he treated his body like a honky-tonk. So, but he was abusive, and he would hit my mother. And I don't say that to harm I don't say that to expose anything. It's just this is a story that happened. But the thing that was interesting, one of the second to last time I saw him, he said, you know what? One of your sisters is going around and saying that I used to hit your mother, and he was hurt by it. His brain had deleted it. And I looked at the sister that was there with me, and I said, he doesn't remember, but it actually happened all the time. But it did. But you can imagine that could make you could have a response where you're like, how dare he forget? But he was no longer capable of holding those memories or that responsibility. And so it really didn't exist with anyone. It didn't exist with him anymore. So it didn't make any sense. I kind of I think I was already done because it had been so long since we had that kind of experience had been activated for me. I had really gotten past it, but it was just so foolish then for me to regard that in any kind of way that was charged emotionally, because even he didn't remember it. And there's just kind of like, it's just a good example. Like if I were somehow still being angry at him, it would be so foolish because he doesn't even have the experience anymore. You know what I mean?
I think just to sort of bridge off of that, because I swear every time you speak, I triggered. It's the most ridiculous thing. But so Abby, I've found in my pursuit of that whole feeling when parting in a relationship or forgiving that I've been in, as I'm sure you have, as most of us have. There are different there's different placement with it. So the first one that a lot of us tend, and I know this is you because I hear you saying it, and tell me if I'm wrong, is that the first inclination is to take care of the other, the outside of self, to take care of him, to try and heal him, right? And then that doesn't make us
right. It's always the other person.
Always,
yes, exactly.
and that gets us sick.
I'm here on this earth for other people.
That's right. So that feeling gets us sick, and then we move into a place where we go, you know what? I can't do it anymore, and we just take care of ourselves. And that doesn't make us feel great either, because even though we're taking care of ourselves, there's a lot of ill will and sort of malice and poor feelings circulating about the other person, which it may as well be your own oxygen circulating. It stumps you. And I think finally you move into this really healthy phase where you combine the two and you say, okay, out of love for myself, I am going to detach, right? I'm going to forgive. I'm going to heal me. I'm going to move on and focus my energy in other places. But out of love for this other person, to clear my energy, to clear my space, and because I still have love for them, I'm going to send them on their journey with nothing but best wishes and hopes for their healing, and an understanding that they're experiencing things I cannot imagine, as I am they. And it's just like that little dose of empathy, I think, really allows me to sort of get over the cold. You know what I mean? To really take a step forward. And I think you might have the same experience. I think that we it's hard to understand that you can have a lot of love for somebody that you feel like has not been kind to you.
Yeah.
And honoring that and not being angry at yourself is super important because, again, this is your father and this is somebody that you love and we're deeply connected to, but you're not thrilled with all of his actions, and that's completely okay. So I think allow yourself to, out of kindness to you, hold on to what you like. Almost deconstruct the Legos here. Take that love with you and keep that. And then forgive all of the surface stuff, because underlying all of your, all interaction between humans, even if there's fear on top of it, is love. So you can know that
Right.
even if it wasn't expressed the way that you wanted it to be, that there was love there, as there always is, and that you have love from Tricia and I, and really everybody you connect with, whether people are able to express it or not. And so take that with you and move forward and sort of let go of the things that are hurting you and haunting you and sort of, needle in the foot right now, because that stuff's just not serving you, and you have, so many better outlets and accounts in your life to place that energy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's perfect advice. Not to disconnect with who you are, and because that can make you passive aggressive, or like you said, not feeling well, sick inside, and then overdoing it and over-explaining it is not healthy either. But kind of say your piece, forgive, and that's the most healing thing, that balance for
Absolutely.
me. I agree with that completely.
Absolutely.
You know what could be helpful too, Abby, I'm getting, because you're such a healer and you're so empathic, is that you can, and if you feel that tension and discomfort about the past stories and all of that kind of stuff, is to try and have empathy for the person who wasn't able to love his daughter perfectly. I know you're capable of that, and then just as a point of departure from the heart, the difficult feelings. You know what I mean? Like how must he have felt in order to extend that kind of treatment to his own child? And that's sad. That's difficult.
He was in his own pain.
Right.
So this is his ability of how he was able to love, what his
and
family taught him.
Right. Let that just be a springboard. We don't want to spend time there. You don't need to, but it can be a springboard to just activate your higher intentions, your self healing aspect. Just to be able to use that as a point to pivot from.
Yeah, I agree. Just with Tricia, just make sure that that's something that that brings you some understanding and some peace, but that you don't use that as your substitute for your own healing. You know what I mean? By deflect, because it's really easy to do that.
It's a place to just to pivot from, not a place to exist.
So I had an experience with my father where his father passed away when he was just getting married. So he was very young, and I would say that with my parents, even when I'm not thrilled with them or when things are challenging, there's a lot of love there, and I would say that there are a lot of experiences in my life that I can't wait to share with them. And I realized that I have that inclination or that impulse. And it hit me several years back that I have a father who has the same impulses and inclinations to share these things with his father, but his father is no longer around, right? And so this just mind-blowing, it really just completely warped my perspective. This understanding that you can be incredibly close to someone and still have no idea what's happening in their psyche, in their subconscious, in their hearts. This was something that my father, in all likelihood, was hurting with, every day in small moments. And, there were certain activities that he would do that I didn't realize were him connecting with his father. And so knowing that people, unfortunately, hold stuff in and keep secrets. And if you imagine how it feels to clench your fists and tighten your body, and you do that for 5 seconds, understand that that's something that this person was feeling likely throughout their lives. That there's this exhausting weight that they were carrying at all times. And so I think that the multi-pronged, taking care of yourself and taking care of others is, once you've taken care of yourself, just wishing somebody peace and freedom from that weight, and knowing that people reflect onto others what they're experiencing again themselves. And so what was being reflected onto you was a result of things that, we can't possibly know that were going on within his system, and so they really, while he was your father and while you guys had the relationship you had, in a way they had very little to do with you. And there's always sort of this little being there that is full of love that's sort of screaming to get out. But as we don't deal with those oranges on that road, and as the emotional baggage builds up, it becomes harder and harder for that little screaming voice to be heard. And so even if his intentions at some point were fantastic, for you to understand that and it to be communicated to you may have been unrealistic, right?
Yeah, I think, and what I'm being explained here, clairaudiently, is that it is actually that technique of having empathy, extending empathy to the person by trying to understand their context, is actually switching over to the higher aspects of empathy, as opposed to, like we say, we're talking about the kind of empathic nature where we're absorbing and it's depleting us. That is a shadow aspect of an empathic kind of function. Whereas if we can extend empathy with context and love, then that's how it's a trigger up to that higher, the light aspect of empathy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just wish there was some place we can buy a magic wand and just make it clear. You kind of put it out, not just clearing ourselves, but the other person, so they can really see what you want them to see, or the reality, or they can
I think
see.
That's not your work, though.
I think as fantastic as that would be, there's something to be said for
the journey.
The journey, yeah, yes. There's something to be said for the journey, and I think you will find yourself just growing and improving so much as you sit in this and as you kind of work through this. And so everything
you look back, if it was a negative thing and you've moved past it and you're healed from it, you look back and you say, I learned something, I gained something, I've deepened. My tapestry is more brilliant and colorful because of that. Not that we have to. I mean, ideally, no, we don't have to have negative aspects in our life. So it's not like we are destined to have terrible, tragic things. That's not it. But we will always experience the contrast. That is the work of this life. That is the reason we're here.
Yeah, I think the maybe the final thought to wrap up a lot of information that that's been thrown at you and a lot of advice is just that you should be very proud of yourself for the place that you're in now, Abby. To be able to conceptualize and articulate the feelings that you have in such an objective sort of I want to heal fashion is so difficult to do. And you've managed to do it with such openness, which I can completely feel and is resonating with me. And I think, as you take steps forward and, 2 forward and 1 back or whatever it looks like for all of us, just remember to also, in kindness to yourself, celebrate you. Whether that means, having, not making plans one day and just going to get your nails done and getting pampered or whatever that looks like, to show yourself like, hey, again, as my best friend, I am proud of you for the work that you're doing, right? You know what I mean? I am proud of you for your growth, for working through this. I understand that it's not easy, but, nevertheless, you're moving through it. And there's a lot of people not to go to a negative place, but a lot of people, avoid these things and deflect. And, maybe that's what your father experienced, where these things that we need to work through, we don't because they're too painful. And so we say, you know what, I'm going to deal with them later. And then they go into our sort of bank account of emotions, and they slowly hinder our full capacity to experience things. And then maybe by midlife or even by 18 or 20, whatever it is, you can literally be at 20-30% capacity. That's, I think, what a lot of depression looks like. So just remember that you are really doing a lovely job with this, and that there's no right or wrong way to do it, but just continue as you are and continue thinking the way you are, and just please remember to be, to show awareness to yourself of how great you're doing. You know what I mean?
Well, Abby, thank you.
You both are so wonderful.
Abby,
absolutely. I feel so blessed.
Oh, you bless me so much.
I just want to thank you both for, spending your life trying to help other people and make this world a better place. And really, God bless you both so much.
Abby, right back at you. Thank you so much for your work. I appreciate you so much.
All right. Have a great day. Thank you again. Bye-bye.
Take care, Abby. Okay.
Thank you for calling, sweetie. She's so awesome. And I actually I met her just about, I think it's only been 2 weeks or something like that. But yeah she's amazing. Yeah. Well, we do have another call, but I actually want to ask you about your new project. So callers, please hold on. I don't know if we have several calls or one call, but hang on, please. We're going to get to you. I wanted to ask Cameron about the new project that you're on. So by the way, Cameron just graduated high school. This gorgeous, wise being is 18 years old. And actually, the last time he was on the show, he was still 17. So I feel like mentioning that because I would say a handful of people said, why didn't you mention earlier was 17? I was crushing on him because he was so cute. And I was like, and they're like, I felt like a pervert then. I was like, Okay, so he's 18. So you're just legally not a pervert if you are too old to be crushing on him. It's, at least you're not. It's just like your own sense of perversion.
Run with it.
Sorry,
There's no judgment here.
Sorry to embarrass you.
No, that's okay. It had to happen at some point. So this new project is it's a television series called Relationship Status.
Oh.
And which is really ironic, and we'll talk about that a little bit. But the show is on a platform called Go90, which is backed by Verizon and NBC. Everybody's trying to get their skin in the game with Hulu and Netflix, and so they're creating these shows, and they're vignette style, like 10-minute episodes. So they're very stimulating and very fun and quick, and are sort of exploring connection and disconnection in current age because of social media and because of all these dating apps, and just looking at the way that relationships have changed and how we're all sort of fighting to figure out what works within that. And it's a really fun show. The executive producers of This Is Us came over to work on a show with us.
Oh, wow.
Where the show stars Milo Ventimiglia, who's This Is Us's star as well, and some really just fantastic young actors. And I'm really lucky to be a part of the project.
That's so great.
It's pretty fun. So.
Oh, that's awesome. How many episodes have you done so far? Have you shot?
So we filmed the first one of season 2 just this last week.
Okay.
And then I'll pretty much go up every week of June, and we'll see what happens in July to film the others.
Okay.
So we're gonna knock out probably season 2 and season 3 in the next 4 weeks.
Cool.
So, yeah.
Oh, because they're vignettes. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm sure that's still a tough schedule, but yeah.
It's pretty neurotic in terms of the back and forth. But I'm proud of it. I'm not playing a character that's super, bold and part of a huge movement, but whereas there are characters like gay characters that have these really honestly written relationships that I can appreciate and I'm very proud to be a part of. My character I appreciate just because even though he's a 19-year-old kid, there's a lot of depth there. And in this relationship, this is a kid who the guy is experiencing more connection to the girl than she is to him. And it's just that she's not ready yet to dive in the way that he is. And I think that's neat just because we don't see very often that change in status in media. We see, the women very...
But it happens at least as much.
Of course
right?
it does. Of course it does.
But somehow we highlight the woman's
It's
experience of that.
easy to do that.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's a lot of men in the industry, right? So it's easier to tell your narrative. It's the same thing in the way that people argue that, the Americans have written our history in a way that's biased, right? The winner writes the tale. So as many men as there are working in the industry, it's understandable that that we have these narratives that are sort of always like the women needing something. And here, this is like it's just neat because, I think one of the things that I've really worked to develop as I've grown up in just like our 2017, right, and in this generation, is that guys are perfectly masculine and whole with an emotional presence in being.
Jarvis likes this topic.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, man. Very cool. So
because Jarvis is a very sensitive person too, growing around, and he's heterosexual. Not that matters that much, but it's actually, I guess, it does matter a bit in this conversation we kind of brought up.
It absolutely does.
I mean, I think there's a lot of pressure for. I have a friend who is an extremely sensitive person who is homosexual, but he's effeminate by his own definition.
Sure.
And so I don't know. Nothing is everybody's experience is challenging, but Jarvis has to be friends with these heterosexual guys that are, they kind of break his heart. That's something that he had to grow up with because they are not as sensitive.
A lot of us, by the time we're 20 years old or 30 years old, are having to go back and entirely rebuild our wiring because we were taught not to emote and not to express ourselves. And
for people like you two men here, that's impossible. So then what do? You just
that's the thing is that I know. A vast number of, not everybody, but I know a lot of guys that I grew up with that are similarly sensitive that you would never know. And so they're sort of selling themselves short and really not living authentically just because they think that they'll, kind of get
they'll be rejected from the group.
That's right. Which is
believe.
The truth is that, I mean, as we know, right, every step you take towards your more authentic self is a step you take towards attracting the things that you want in that life.
Yeah.
So you can build a lovely life for yourself that has no interest to you or no ties to you if you're not living the way that you want to. And so I think what I appreciate about this character and what I would have stood for anyway had they written it differently is that he's really honest in his communication, that he
Oh, that's
wants something, more with this girl, and that he is interested and wants her to meet his parents, and she's not ready yet, and she doesn't communicate it as well. But I appreciate that. So I think the show is going to be a lot of fun and is going to help a lot of people, and I think it's fun.
Well, how can we find it? How can we watch it?
Yeah, so if you were to look up Verizon Go 90, the platform is right there. And if you were to look up relationship status Go 90, there's a link to all the free first season.
Oh, cool.
And the second
Okay.
season will be there as well. And then we'll see what happens as far as a cable deal.
Oh, I see, yeah.
Because it does have
Get some
the network
distribution.
back. Exactly.
Sure.
But the first season won best new like short series at Tribeca Film Festival last year, which was really exciting, and
Yeah.
there's just some interesting people working on it. Because it was a new media project, and those don't always look as attractive at first.
Yeah.
And so everybody that's there, they were all people willing to take a second look and go,
Yeah.
wait a minute, there might be something here.
Right.
So that's the new project.
That's great.
Yeah.
And I just chuckled when you said that your character's 19 because it's really typical as an actor that you play for a while 18 to play younger. He's 18 playing older.
Yeah.
That's not usually how it goes, but
Right.
then it's because we have this eternal nature that exudes from him. All right. Do we have time to take a call, Travis? Okay, cool. So
Awesome.
let's do that.
Awesome.
Hello, you're on the air. Who's this?
Hi, my name is Kitsy.
Kitsy?
Yes,
Hi there, Kitsy.
Hey.
and I'm calling. Hi, thank you for taking my call. I have been trying so many times.
Aw.
I am hoping you can help with.
Ooh, you broke up. Are you there still?
Right now.
Say that again, sweetheart.
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
It broke up. Just go ahead
I'm
and repeat
hoping you
yourself.
can help me. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Okay. I'm hoping I have a couple of animals I need help with.
Oh,
I have this one cat, and I'm standing by her now.
I heard her.
Actually, I have three, but this one. And she has chronic vomiting. And we've tried all kinds of stuff, have her own special diet, and the vets have not found anything. And I was just wondering if maybe she could tell us what's wrong with her tummy.
I'm getting that the lining is inflamed. Did they do MRI? Because I'm feeling into her, and it almost feels like an ulcer, but it's not quite ulcerated. Well, I guess I shouldn't say it's definitely not ulcerated, but I'm not picking up that it is created like sores as much as a lot of the lining is inflamed. So and how long? So is she about 2 years old?
I'm sorry?
How old is she? Is she about 2 years old?
She's actually 12.
Oh, she's an older girl. Oh, okay, goodness. But she's got a young she's got a
I
young
have
spirit.
a couple of young ones upstairs.
Okay, tell me her name, please.
Her name is Mika. We spell it Mika, but it's pronounced Meeka.
Okay, okay. And is she tabby? Can you tell me what she looks like?
She's a calico.
She's calico. Okay, great. All right. So let me see, Mika. Okay.
I have a tabby upstairs who may be poking in.
Okay. So Mika, and she's calico, and she's 12. And okay. And this has been has this been going on for a couple of years? Is that what's going on?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
it
has.
That's what the 2 years may be about then. Okay. So,
Yeah.
okay. So then let me just feel into that. And so she does have some anxiety that's contributing to it, but it's not the whole of the cause. The anxiety, there's some environmental stuff. Does she go outside?
No, not anymore.
Okay, she used
She used to.
She used to go outside.
But we have an invasion of coyotes, so a lot of animals on the street disappeared, so we are keeping her in now.
Okay, so that I think that
And we have
she's picking up on that still, and so we just need to let her know that she's safe and that isn't her concern anymore.
Okay.
So you can do that. You can just tell her
Okay.
that you're completely safe. There's absolutely no threat to the environment. She asks also about who's in the home and who's staying in the home. There's a bit of safety and security, and so just communicate with her, and you could just say it aloud. Tell her about how everyone is safe, and we want to speak in affirmative language when we're talking to animals. That's how they understand it. So you wouldn't say, "Don't be afraid." You say, "We're safe." We claim the reality with the affirmative language. We say that we're safe. Everyone is staying here. Everyone is here together, and we're loving each other, and everyone is stable and staying here. And
There is.
yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
I was going to say there is a threat to the environment, and that's the animal. We had took in this rescue a couple of years ago, and he and she had an encounter we didn't see, but it broke her jaw. And
Okay. And so
we don't know what is wrong with him. He has some kind of personality disorder, but a switch flips, and he just goes crazy.
And so he's
and
still
he's
there.
bitten my son. He's bitten another animal.
And this is a cat, you're saying?
So she's right to. I'm sorry?
This animal is a cat that you're saying that has the personality disorder?
No. A dog.
Oh, a doggy. Okay. That makes more sense. I'm like, that's more common in dogs. Okay, so is she still at threat of encountering that?
Yeah, they're in the house together all the time.
Okay.
There's your.
And occasionally,
Yes.
he'll jump at her occasionally.
Okay.
There's your
There's the
source of
threat.
tension.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think. Yeah.
So a lot of so I think that it has a lot to do with that threat. So it is real. So that's what you're saying. It's real. So then we probably need to turn our attention to help that guy. And I think that would be. Can you?
So I'm standing by him now.
Kitsy, will you do me a favor? Because I don't have enough time, but I believe the next show, I want to actually do more thorough animal readings, and I would love to work with your puppy. Would you be able to come on air and do a video call with me?
Sure.
Okay, great.
When?
Well, let me just. Well, we'll talk about it. Can you? You? How did you?
Let me hang on.
How did you find me here? Did you find me on Facebook or Periscope?
Yeah, on Facebook, and I called in the number.
Great, good. Will you do me a favor? And however you found me on that Facebook platform, just send me a direct message. You may have to like or join whatever platform it is, and I'll remember and I'll look for it, and then we'll be in touch about it. But in the meantime, just try to hold the space of safety and to let her know that you are protecting her. Because, you know what I mean? Just
Thank you so
wherever
much.
you are. Yeah, just try to, and you can just tell her that and then hold that space for yourself because you're obviously not worried that she's going to be ripped to shreds in this moment because, you can manage it for the most part.
Yeah.
So just help her to understand that in this moment. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you so much for
so
calling
much,
in.
and I'll send you a message.
Take care,
Perfect.
Kitsy.
Great.
Okay, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now. So we have a couple minutes left? Okay, great.
Okay.
Well, this has been really great. Let's see. I wanted to wrap up the conversation of transition. So, and how we as compassionate, sensitive, empathic people handle this. And it is all about staying present. It is all about, because we feel that sometimes that transitional stage can make us feel as though we're under threat in the way that Mika feels. And it can create a lot of anxiety. But that is the shadow aspect of the sensitivity and the empathic nature. Expecting from the environment, expecting from what we can't see that is going to be a threat, the unknown. But that is all a function of ego and of the physical body. The physical body and the ego. The ego in its purest form is meant to keep us physically alive, and that's a good thing. And so it is very helpful. We want to listen and love the ego, but we also want to treat it kind of like a child who doesn't have all of the information, because it doesn't. He has the here and now, but we are eternal beings. So then we pop up into that eternal being perspective, which we're capable of doing, and then we can soothe the ego and we can soothe the body about this transitional stage. And so that is us popping up into the higher aspect, the light aspects of our empathic nature when we're in times of transition.
Yeah, I think really simply put, you have to recognize that that forcing the ego out or knocking the ego and trying to get rid of it is the same thing as trying to shake a python or quicksand. It doesn't work. And so
Yeah.
I think the healthiest way to go about it is you recognize that you were in a car road tripping with your ego, and
They're in the passenger seat.
and they're in the passenger seat, and you make it very clear with that affirmative voice. I understand your presence. I understand why you're here. I appreciate that you're trying to help, but just understand that there is a map. I am driving. I am looking at the map. You will never dictate my directions or where I choose to go.
My
And,
higher mind.
but know that there is space in the car for you because you've insisted on being here. So it's a sort of a funny.
Well, we insisted on them being here too because we chose to be physically alive.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And that is our show today. Our time is up. I want to thank Cameron Gellman for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
And look
so much.
The honor is mine. And please look for his series Relationship Status.
Please, yeah.
And I will see you all next time on Charmed Life, 11 a.m. Pacific on ubnradio.com or on Facebook Periscope by looking for me, Tricia Carr, Charmed Life, all that kind of stuff. Thank you for tuning in. I love you, whoever you are.
Take care, guys.